In conversation with Harriet Hodgson. Harriet Hodgson has been a freelancer for 46 years and is the author of thousands of articles and 46 published books. She has a BS in early childhood education from Wheelock College of Education and Human Development at Boston University, an MA in art education from the University of Minnesota, and is a certified art therapy coach. Many of Oxen's books have won awards. In addition to writing about health, wellness, and grief healing, Oxen has written children's picture books. She has appeared on more than 190 talk radio shows, including CBS Radio, dozens of television shows, including CNN, and dozens of blog talk radio programs. A popular speaker, Oxen has given presentations at public health, nursing, caregiving, bereavement conferences. To learn more about this author, grandmother, great grandmother, caregiver, editor, and doodle artist, please visit www.harrietoxen.net. And on today's episode of Author Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have on the show today, Harriet Oxen. How are you doing, Harriet?
I am great. I figure I'm vertical. That's all you can aim for. So
Welcome aboard.
thank you.
Yeah, it's quite lovely to have you today. Thanks for coming on. Harriet, I want to first say that I found the description page of your book, Waning, A Story of Grief and Renewal, on Amazon to be quite pulling, very compelling, and absorbing. And I would like to ask you, how does this book come about? What inspired you to write Waning, A Story of Grief and Renewal?
I certainly didn't get up and say it's been a slow day. I think I'll write a gut-wrenching book. But I have had a lot of experience with grief. In fact, friends call me an experienced griever. That is not the term I use about myself. But I wrote Winning after my husband died. And I figured I had a lot of things to say. I had been a caregiver for 23 years at that time. So I had comments to make about caregiving and about facing the death of a loved one and about creating a new life. And the theme of the book is stated in the Amazon blurb, and it is death will be the loser, life will be the winner, I will make it so. And I did make it so.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Out of curiosity, how is it and why is it that you went from writing health and wellness into actually grief healing? Was there more to it than just the experience you had with taking care of your husband and stuff? But it sounds like you have quite a bit more experience than that. And a second question tied into that is, how would you describe your work, your writing?
Almost everything I write comes from life experience, and I write books that help people, basically. But in 2007, my daughter, the mother of my twin grandchildren across the phone, rang.
You're popular. You're very popular.
My daughter died from the injuries she received in a car crash.
Wow.
So the mother of my twin grandchildren. And then 2 days later, my father-in-law died. And so there are pictures, two family members were on the same page of the newspaper. And I mean, when I looked at their pictures, I got hysterical, but I didn't know that there was more grief to come. And a couple of months after that, my brother and only sibling died of cancer. And then a few months after that, my twin grandchildren's father died from the injuries he received in another car crash. So 4 family members had died in a row, and I would just start to feel better, and my husband would just start to feel better, and another person would die. And I thought, it's time to switch now to grief healing and what you can do to heal your grief. Now, you never get over grief. It really becomes part of you. You learn to live with it. But those multiple losses changed my writing, changed my life, and even my outlook on life.
Mm.
So you've
Oh,
tried to
wow.
really make something that's difficult into something that's more of a blessing, something that you can see the light in difficult times.
I figure, I mean, when you've had all of this tragedy, you basically have three choices.
Mm.
Choice one is to sit around and wait to be rescued. Well,
Yeah.
fat chance of that happening. Nobody is going to rescue you. Choice number two is to sit in the rocking chair and wait to die. That's a waste of the gift of life. Choice number three is to make something good from grief and be
Mm.
proactive. And that is the choice that I followed.
That's great.
Well, that's
Great.
actually a lot, really, and that's very saddening. I can imagine the roller coaster of emotion you must have gone through from the brother, the twin grandchildren, father, to husband, and it's a lot, really. I'm so sorry about the loss of.
Me too.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And it changed my life in that my twin grandchildren, my only grandchildren, were
Mm.
15. And my husband and I became, uh, the guardians of our grandchildren. We were their legal guardians. We raised them from age 15. Now, we were each 72 years old at the time, and we wondered if we would have the energy to do this, but we figured, well, we better muster the energy.
Mm.
So we lived the teenage years again. So we were at the plays and we were at the gymnastics meets and we were at the band concerts and at the gymnastics meets, a little toddler would come up and point to me and say, "You grandma." And I'd go, "Yes." I was the oldest person there. "You grandma." So she said that at every meet. But we got the kids through high school. They graduated with honors. We got them through college. They graduated with highest honors.
Wow.
And we have a good ending to the story. My granddaughter married a minister. My grandson is finishing up his final
Oh,
year
wow.
of residency at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh,
That is
wow.
impressive.
He is a physician.
Wow.
Impressive.
Interesting. Very impressive, Cindy. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, and I enjoy you talking about that. And now you also have another book in the name of Grief Dawdling, Bringing Back Your Smile. For readers who haven't read that yet, and of course, without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what you'd expect picking up Grief Dawdling? And if you have a copy of the book there, I'd love you to show it to the camera, just so we see what it looks like.
This is the book, and I
Mm.
never thought that I would write this book, but I was caring for my husband, and by the time I had been a caregiver to three generations of family members, I was
Mm.
tired. I was just plain tired. And I got up and I thought, can I do this for one more day? And so early in the morning, I started doodling. And I became so absorbed in doodling
Mm.
that I forgot my problems for a while. And then I felt energized and ready to begin the day. So I kept doodling and I realized it helped me. And so I thought, well, if it helped me, it could help other people. Maybe this
Mm.
is a book. So I started the book and I apologized to my husband. I said, "I'm so sorry. I'm not a good conversationalist, but I'm working on a book." And he said, "Oh, I've seen it before. It's okay." And I continued to doodle. The book came out after he died. I
Mm.
continued to doodle. And his bedroom had become a room of sadness, wall to
Mm.
wall medical equipment, as you can imagine.
Wow.
So I donated all of that equipment to a medical mission,
Oh.
cleared out the bedroom, And then a week after he died, I went online and I ordered a table. And I thought, I have slipped into the abyss. I am out of my mind. What am I doing? But I had the people in my apartment building put the table together, put it in the middle of his bedroom, and then it hit me. This is my art studio. I am going to
Oh,
turn this room from a room of sadness to a
mm.
room of joy.
Oh,
And that
wow.
is what has become.
I love that
All of
word.
that.
To a room of sadness, from a room of sadness to a room of joy. That's a lot to say. Beautiful.
What I find interesting about what you said there is that kind of ties into some of your other book titles, the ones that you've written, the kids' books from Darkness to Sunshine or From Sad to Glad.
Mm.
Mhm.
Thinking about the literature genre that you've written, I would like to ask you which genre stands out the most to you? Which one do you like the best? And is there one you have fun most writing over the other?
Well, I have written books for children. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in early childhood education. And so I draw upon that. I taught for a dozen years, so I draw upon that. I had two daughters, one surviving, so I draw upon that. But basically, I was a health and wellness author, and I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed the research. My husband was a physician,
Mm.
but he was not like a family physician. He was a specialist in aerospace medicine and aviation medicine. And I was a specialist in being his wife. So, and so I found that I enjoy writing books for children, and I did write one nonfiction one, which was Ready, Set, Lead, with a person who owned a leadership business, and I enjoyed that. But I really just enjoy writing books for adults, although, much to my surprise, people are saying that grief doodling is for all ages.
Mm.
So that was encouraging.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I could see as a rec therapist technician where grief doodling would be an asset book to have for all ages. And I know you had a specification when I looked at your website, the age brackets and stuff, but I could see where it could be beneficial for all ages.
That's amazing, Harriet. That's really amazing. And also, I found the title of one of your works to be Down to Earth, and I'm really, really serious about it being so down to earth. And that's the one titled Grief in Your Own Words, How Writing Helps You Heal. And also another title, Dicey a Day, Hope for a Grieving Heart. I would like to ask you, what inspired the making of these two books, and how well do you think writing help us heal against grief? I particularly love your take on that.
Well, I wrote Daisy a Day again after my husband died, and I have like shelves of books on grief.
Mm,
And I was working for a website, a grief website, as an assistant editor. And
mm,
so I looked at the two shelves of books, looking for help and comfort. If I saw any book with long paragraphs, I put it back. I was not up to reading long paragraphs.
mm,
What I wanted was two or three sentences to make it to the next minute, the next hour, the next day. And since I couldn't find what I wanted, I wrote
I
Daisy a
see.
day, which is
Mm,
like giving yourself a gift a day. So it's just two or three short sentences to get you moving forward in that day. And there's a lot of information in that
mm.
book. It is researched, comes from experience, and has helped a number of people. Now, as far as how writing helps people,
Mm.
I list that in detail in this book, Brief in Your
Living
Words. It's
words.
a long list. I don't know
Mm.
whether I should read it, Peter, or not, but it's a long list. We
Mm.
can save it, but one thing you're doing is you're using your time wisely. You learn about yourself. You may find things that you didn't realize were bothering you, problems, but they keep appearing in your writing. Then maybe they need your attention.
Mm.
You are actually documenting family history. Um,
Mm.
in the future, family members may want to know, how did they get
Absolutely.
through this terrible time?
Mm.
And my husband and I relied on each other a great deal. Um, we found we had a pretty good support system, but you may find that you do not. And then we began to see pathways to the future. And I think writing about your experience is really self-care. It gives you a chance to express emotions. You might not say these things to people directly or even admit them, but they appear in your writing, and that all of that is very revealing. And so I found that in writing the grief books that I did write, 11 in all, I literally wrote my way to a new life.
Oh, wow.
That's
Amazing.
very interesting that you've shared that. We've discussed that you've written on the theme of grief and also that the therapeutic aspect of it. But I was just kind of curious, is there a personal aim for sharing this book that you would like to share with the audience? Like your personal aim, like would you how you've achieved things and what you would like to share with them? And actually, with writing 46 books, when did you actually start writing?
I started writing when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
I used to make books for friends in the neighborhood. I am not an English major. I hope you're not shocked, Peter. I am not an English major. I am an education major. But the thing is, it works. Instead of calling them units or pods, I
Mm.
call them chapters. I mean, it isn't that big an adjustment. I try to think of interesting titles. I try to write books that help people. And
Mm.
what's interesting is if you can show that you're putting yourself back together, I don't know how to say this, but it gets people's attention.
Yeah.
And I know I just gave a presentation about grief doodling at a public library yesterday. And I kind of joked around with people. And they all responded. They could see that I had it together. I'd been through a lot, but I had it together and I was there to help them. And somebody in my apartment building came up to me and said, "Well, Harriet, how do you know you're happy?" And I said, "Just look at my art, because art is an expression of feelings. A
Mm.
depressed person could not draw these pictures or would not draw these pictures. And indeed, some people in my apartment building call me the resident comedian. So that's a big change. And if you expect me to go around town, dramatically clutching my forehead or whatever, I don't have time for that. My life is a miracle, and I'm going to
Mm.
make the most of the miracle that has been given to me.
You
Oh,
go, girl.
wow. Oh, wow. That's a lot to say. I particularly like the fact that you mentioned that art is an expression of feeling. If you have something you've done by the wall side, is an expression of what is going on in the art of the artist at the time the art is being made. And to know that you started writing at 8 years old, it's very amazing to know, really. That's many years ago. That's a lot. That's well commendable, really. Thank you for sharing, Aria. And apart from the books we've mentioned so far, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
I'm not working on anything now. I'm just focusing on getting the word out about the books I have written.
Mm,
And I am, focusing on my art, giving Zoom workshops, in-person workshops. I do a lot of speaking. I've spoken at the Compassionate Friends, which is an international group of people for those who have suffered the loss of a child. And
mm,
interestingly, one of my most popular workshops at the Compassionate Friends was something called Got Grief Brain. And a lot of people have never heard the term grief brain, but it is a medical term. And the minute you hear the terrible news, your brain chemistry shifts. And I did a whole workshop on that. So I'm not
wow.
actively writing now. I still write articles. I write a column for an online magazine. If you need something, I'll write it for you. But that's what I'm doing. Mostly I'm doing art.
Could you tell us a little bit about the publishing that you have gone through for your personal self? And are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing any of your books and so forth?
I have witnessed such great changes in the publishing industry, it makes me gasp.
Mm,
So I have progressed from typing on the manual typewriter
mm,
to working with an electric typewriter to
mm,
working with one of the first IBM personal computers to working with a high-tech computer. Um, I can't speak for other countries. In the United States, many people who used to be in marketing are not in marketing now. Authors are expected to get out there and market their own books. Some publishers will still do a campaign for you, but a lot of that has fallen by the wayside. You're expected to do it to be online. Um, I am online in two social media websites, but when your name is out there online,
mm,
you get strange emails. And I got an email from a gentleman who said he wanted to have fun. So I kind of followed the trail online and I found out that he wasn't a very nice person and maybe I should stop following the trail. But in following the trail, I found
wow.
out that there's a stripper in London named Harriet Hodgson. And I think
Oh,
he thought he was contacting her, only he got great grandma Harriet from the Midwest. So
oh.
that was a bit of
Okay,
a
that's enlightening.
So it's stuff like that that didn't used to happen. Quality work all the time. I try to send emails without errors, although I make some. I try to be respectful of everyone I email.
Mm,
I try to follow up and thank people for their kindness. And let's face it, when you get in our culture, my culture, when
mm,
you get above 70 years old, people think your brain has gone. And my brain has not gone. My brain has more ideas than I know what to do with. I am
interesting.
89 years old. At 89, I'm going to stick up for myself kindly, but you're not going to push me. You're not going to convince me of something that I don't believe in. I'm going to stick up for what I believe is right. And I'm going to stick up for the old fashioned virtues of hard work, kindness, and gratitude. And that's my life in 3 words.
Wow. That's a lot. And it's lovely to know you're 89. Thanks so
I would
much
not
for
have guessed
sharing.
89. I would not have guessed that you were 89 with the level of zest and inspiration and
Mm,
everything that you seem to show in life.
mm,
Well, I am. And again, it gets back to that miracle of your life. And I know my loved ones would want to be happy. And
Mm.
basically, I built a new life on with help from my family and on the love that I still feel for my husband and from my husband.
Very
So,
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, that's I'd like to ask you, is there anything that you would love to share with the viewers about your books that we did not mention in this interview? You'd love the viewers to know. And also, would you like to read a short section of your book? It could be a short line, a short paragraph, a page, or even a page if you would like to. I know you mentioned that initially. I'd like you to perhaps read one or two.
well, I can say that my heart and soul are in every book. And I thought I would read the last
Winning.
paragraph, winning,
Yeah.
because it basically says it all.
Yeah.
And it begins, now you know my story, the sad parts, the glad parts, and the funny parts. After being imprisoned in the darkness of grief, I bask in the brightness of life.
Mm.
Like a potter repairing a broken vase, I gathered the shards, family, friends, education, experience, personality,
Mm.
beliefs, talent, and glued my life back together. The journey was long and the road was bumpy, but I am whole again.
Mm.
I look new and feel new. It's a miracle. I was worthy of happiness, and you are as well. Stand up to grief and claim happiness for yourself.
Mm.
And though you have doubts, you may be stronger than you realize.
Mm.
There could be a wellspring of strength within you.
Mm.
And this brings me back to the decision I made after Helen died. Death will be the loser, life will be the winner. I will make it so. I made it so, and you can too.
Wow, that's amazing. Death will be the loser and life will be the winner. That's really amazing. I love that line, coupled with all the ones you've read so far. Very amazing, very soothing, quite hopeful, and very comforting. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of things that are emotional. I'm a huge fan of words that communicate hope, that tends to lift up human spirit, as I love even myself to write on this team. So this is very interesting to hear you talk about. Thank you so much, Harriet.
Thank you for having me.
I
Yeah.
loved the line that you said, stand up to grief. That stood out for me. Now, as you've gone through all of this, what sort of advice would you like to share about your journey with if you struggled through publishing or anything? And where can readers actually get a copy of your book?
You can get copies of my books on Amazon. Everything is Amazon these days. And some publishers aren't even posting their books on their own websites.
Mm.
If you are going through grief now, I would say um, don't be afraid to say no. People will call you and they make a general statement, such as, if there's anything you need, just call. Well, we don't call. That's too general.
Mm.
And or they might say, would you like to come to dinner with us? No, I want to be home and I just want to figure out what has happened to me and how I can cope. So don't be afraid to say no. Trust your instincts. And if you ask for help, be specific. Say, um, I don't think I can cook tonight. Could you deliver a meal? You could say that to a church friend, something like that.
Mm.
But be specific, and they should be specific in offering help as well.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So those are my pithy comments. The only things I can think of right now.
Yeah, I checked your Amazon page. I saw quite a lot of books. I was like, there's a lot of books on grief, this on grief, this on grief, this on grief. And I was like, wow, there's so many books on grief. I never knew, it's amazing to talk to speak with you to know what inspired them. That's a lot, really. Thanks for writing. Beautiful
Yeah.
I
titles
think the
you've
one
got.
one thing that I have to say about the titles of your books, they're more inviting to read
Yeah.
because of the color choice you've used for the book covers
And the
and
titling
the
too.
titles you've chosen. Because when
Yeah.
you say from darkness to sunshine and from sadness to glad, that to me is very inviting.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have said something about that because seriously, Peter's right. I mean, when he says that, he looks at books and stuff, and then they're darker titles or they're not inspirational. And your book titles and books are colorful and they seem to depict happiness even in the midst of the storm. So
Mm.
I should have
That's
probably
the
said
goal.
something.
Thank you. And you see, on grief in your words, which turns out to be just a watercolor, splotches, really. The
Mm.
artist, graphic artist, is in New York City, and she sent me 4 ideas,
Mm.
and they were all bad. I have a master's degree in art, and they were all bad. So
Mm.
finally, I said to her, "Could you take the colors from number 1 and the font from number 4 and put them together?" And she did. And then this one, I didn't like what they chose, so I went online and I looked at more than 2,000 images, and then I chose this one
Oh
Hmm.
wow.
book. And I think
Impressive.
it's modern, it's growth, it's appealing. And then brief doodling, I did all the illustrations and,
Wow.
did the cover. And then to throw out the first set of illustrations took a lot of guts because you don't want to throw out stuff that I've been working on,
Nope,
but
not your darlings. Yeah.
so I did. So thank you for listening, for the gift of listening, and for the gift of interviewing me. Thank
It
you.
was
Yeah.
nice to have met you. It was very much a pleasure.
And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Harriet Hodgson's books directly on Amazon, on our website, and the publisher's website, and also another platform. I also left a link to Harriet's social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Harriet, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. I must say it's more than awesome. Very wholesome, encouraging, hopeful, enlightening, inspirational. Having this lovely conversation with you around your beautiful titles. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it greatly.
It was nice to have met you, Harriet.
Thank you.
Yeah.